This story is generated and narrated by AI. If you notice any glitches in the voice, feel free to leave a comment. Your feedback helps improve future videos. They say silence can drive a person mad. But where I grew up, silence wasn't the danger, it was the thing hiding beneath it. I should have never gone back to that farm, should have left the silo buried forever. I never knew my uncle well. He was one of those relatives whose name floated in family conversations like a smudge on the edge of a photograph, present, but never quite in focus. I was 6 the last time I saw him. He gave me a carving knife and told me not to fear blood if it came with purpose. That stuck with me more than I want to admit. So when I got the letter, the kind no one sends anymore, postmarked from some forgotten county in southern Iowa, I had to reread it 3 times to understand. It was simple, clinical. Mr. Caro is deceased. You are listed as the sole heir to his estate. Please make arrangements for transfer of property and land. At the time, I didn't have much to walk away from. I'd just ended things with Aaron. My job in the city had evaporated under a merger I didn't see coming, and I'd been drinking more than sleeping. So the idea of open air and silence, even if it came with creaking boards and ghost-stale furniture, it sounded like a fair trade. The drive out took longer than it should have. The road stopped being labeled after mile 90. No signs, no gas stations, just acres of corn swaying under a flat gray sky. I forgot what silence felt like until I rolled the windows down and heard it. The house appeared over the hill like something left behind by accident. 2 stories of dried paint and dark windows. A wraparound porch held up by iron rods that had started to bow inward, and beside it, the silo. It stood apart from the barn, tall and skeletal, its rusted skin catching no light. The top had partially collapsed in, creating a ragged crown that looked wrong, bent, like it had been gnawed from the inside. I parked behind the barn and stepped out. The wind carried no scent, not even dirt, just the pressure of presence, like the land was watching. The house wasn't locked. Inside was dust, but no cobwebs. Furniture was sparse, a cot in the corner, a table with deep cuts in the wood, and a fireplace filled with broken glass. It looked like he had tried to burn something that didn't want to stay lit. That first night, I slept on the cot, or I tried to. There was no electricity, just a battery lantern and the creak of old timbers. But sometime around 3 a.m., I felt it, a vibration, not like an earthquake, not in the walls, but in the bones. Like something vast and low had grown from beneath the earth, just once. Then silence again. I told myself it was wind in the grain, even though the fields didn't move. The next morning, a man showed up. I heard the truck before I saw it, a dented Ford that coughed more than ran. He introduced himself with a quiet nod. Eli. I worked here, with your uncle. He didn't offer a handshake, just stood there, hands in his pockets, as not quite meeting mine. I asked if he wanted to keep working. He nodded once. Long as you stay out of the silo, we're good. It took me a second to register that. I laughed, awkwardly. You afraid of tetanus or ghosts? He didn't laugh back. He just said, neither's the worst thing down there. Then he walked toward the barn without waiting for permission. I spent that day exploring. The farmhouse had an attic, but the door was nailed shut. There were scratch marks on the floorboards near it, deep ones, like someone had tried to claw their way out or in. There were notebooks in the cellar, dozens, all written in the same jagged, slanted hand. My uncle's. Most were gibberish. The grinding started again at 2:14. The teeth are awake. Sleep comes slow when it whispers below. I think it likes the sound of my voice. On the 3rd evening, Ms. DeWitt came to visit. She was maybe in her 80s, eyes cloudy but sharp, She brought a pie I didn't eat and a voice like sandpaper. "You're the nephew. Thought you'd be taller." She sat without asking and looked out toward the silo. "Best not to talk when it starts humming. Makes it curious. Your uncle learned it the hard way. Kept talking to it. Started saying it answered." I told her she was being cryptic. She said crypts were for the dead. That night, the vibration came again. Stronger. My teeth ached with it, and this time I heard something else, a dragging, not on the floorboards, below them. I followed the sound to the barn and found the rug pulled slightly aside. There was a hatch underneath, old iron, bolted shut, but one bolt was missing, and someone, or something, had scratched a circle into the dust around it. I didn't open it, not yet. Instead, I went back inside, closed every curtain, and sat in the kitchen, listening. The dragging faded, but the humming, it stayed soft, rhythmic, almost like breathing. The next morning, the humming was gone, but something had changed in the air, like the house was holding its breath. I found Eli sitting on the steps of the barn, whittling something with a blade too sharp for comfort. He didn't look up. "You opened it, didn't you?" I lied, said I just heard noises, said I couldn't sleep. He stopped carving and finally met my eyes. "You start listening to it, it'll start listening to you." I tried to play it off as just old house creaks, but I could see it in his face, that weary acceptance, like someone who'd already tried to run and learned it doesn't help. I didn't want to believe it. Not really. But curiosity is louder than fear, especially when it whispers in your own voice. That night, I went back to the hatch, lantern in one hand, crowbar in the other. I removed the last bolt. It didn't open with a screech like in the movies, just a soft sigh of air that hadn't moved in decades. Inside was a staircase, narrow, steep, made of stone, not wood, older than the barn, older than the house. The air hit me like damp cloth, thick with rot and something else, salt. I don't remember walking down. I just remember suddenly being halfway. The silence down there wasn't empty, it was watching. The stairs ended in a hallway, arched, carved stone, like a tomb. Moss grew where the light touched, but past that, just blackness. I walked forward. Each footstep felt like it echoed louder than the last, like the space was learning me, memorizing my rhythm. Then I heard it, not humming, speaking. A voice, faint, like water dripping in reverse, repeating the same word, over and over, below. I turned the corner and saw the mural, painted, no, etched into the wall, figures bowed in worship, but not to a god, to a mouth with no face, just teeth spiraling inward. I should have turned back then. I told myself I did, but somehow, I was standing at a second door, this one wooden, reinforced with iron, and it was open. Inside, a chamber, circular, and in the center, the floor opened into a pit. I leaned over, just for a moment, and that's when I heard my name, not in a voice, in a memory. It was my uncle, his voice, whispering the lullaby he used to hum when I was a kid, but twisted, broken, stretched like tape left in the sun. I stumbled back, nearly fell into the pit. My lantern flickered, and for just 1 second, I saw it. It didn't have eyes or bones. It had shapes that moved against logic. It wasn't crawling, it was unfolding. I ran. I don't remember climbing the stairs, only the light getting closer and the sense of something moving behind me, but not fast, confident, like it knew I'd be back. When I burst into the barn, Eli was waiting. He didn't ask anything, just handed me a bottle and said, "You looked. Now it knows your name too." I drank until I couldn't think. I dreamed of mouths in the walls, of teeth grinding in the soil. The next morning, the silo had changed. There were markings along the outside now, spirals, not painted, but grown, like lichen in the shape of symbols. Miss DeWitt came again. She brought me dried herbs, told me to burn them under my pillow. I asked her what the thing was. She just said, "It's not what it is. It's what we made it. Your uncle fed it." With words. With listening. I tried to leave that afternoon. Car packed, engine running. But the road had changed. Where there had been gravel, now was mud, deep and endless. And the GPS just blinked, spinning, like it had forgotten the world beyond the fence. So I stayed, and every night, I heard it closer. It no longer needed the hatch. It whispered through the pipes, through the floorboards. Sometimes, it used my own voice. I started blocking the vents, taping over cracks in the walls, stuffing towels under the doors, but no matter what I did, the voice still found me. It didn't always speak. Sometimes, it just breathed, like it was waiting for me to respond. I stopped sleeping, stopped eating anything not sealed. The milk tasted sour before I even opened it. One night, I caught myself whispering back to it, not in words, just sounds, like it was teaching me a language without meaning, or maybe without words at all. Eli stopped coming by, but I saw him once. He was standing out in the field, just standing, still as the dead oak beside him, facing the silo, hands by his sides, like he was listening to. I yelled to him, but he didn't respond, didn't even blink. The next day, I found his truck still running outside his cabin, keys still in it, door ajar. Inside, the radio was on, repeating static, but under the static, I heard that word again, below. I didn't tell anyone. Who would believe me? Even I barely believed myself. Then the animals began disappearing. First the stray cats that hung around the barn, then the chickens, not dragged off, not mauled, just gone, their cages unlatched, not broken. One morning, I stepped outside and found patterns in the dew, not footprints, not tire tracks, spirals, circles inside circles, as if something had walked in patterns instead of steps. I knew then that it had left the pit, or maybe it never needed to be there in the first place. Ms. DeWitt came one final time. She didn't bring herbs, just a candle, black, twisted, and an envelope. Inside was a map, hand-drawn, showing the original layout of the property from before my uncle was born, and on it, beneath where the silo now stood, was a symbol I didn't recognize. "You need to bury it." Her voice was flat, brittle, not the thing. "You can't bury that. Bury the place." I didn't understand, but I followed the lines, back to the chamber. The hatch was wide open, like it was waiting. This time, I brought salt, rope, matches, and a recorder, because if I didn't make it back, I wanted someone to hear what I heard. The steps were slick, the walls felt closer, the smell of salt had deepened, almost metallic. But the whispers were louder now, and this time, they weren't just calling, they were arguing. Dozens of voices, layered over each other, male, female, childlike, ancient, all saying the same thing in different ways. "Don't look. You see it. It sees you. Listen. Listen harder. Feed us the dark. I reached the pit, and this time, I didn't look down. I poured the salt around the edge. I lit the matches. The flames danced without smoke, but they burned cold. Then the walls began to pulse. Not move, pulse, like the place was breathing. The voices screamed, or maybe I did. The ceiling cracked, and for a moment, I saw faces in the stone, faces made of teeth, and in every face, my own eyes. I ran. I don't remember the climb, only the light at the top, only the hatch slamming shut behind me on its own. Back in the daylight, the barn looked smaller, the silo, bent, not physically, but wrong, like the angles didn't match what I remembered. The next week, the humming stopped and the dreams faded. Eli's cabin stayed empty. Ms. DeWitt was never seen again. Even the grass around the silo turned gray. I boarded it up, welded the hatch closed, buried the map. And I left. But sometimes, even now, in the silence between words, in the static between radio stations, I still hear it, calling me back. It's been 9 years since the silo, since I boarded it shut and left the keys in a jar beneath the porch. I moved to the city, tried to start over, got a job doing property assessments, nothing glamorous, but it kept me away from fields, barns, anything circular. I even tried therapy once, didn't go well. When I told the therapist I thought a hole in the ground had taught me how to listen to silence, he asked if I'd considered medication. The silence never really left, not completely. Sometimes I still catch patterns in traffic noise, words hidden in the hum of vending machines, and late at night, when the whole building goes quiet, I swear I can hear the silo, calling. I tell myself it's just my mind, that trauma echoes like sound in a tunnel, but deep down, I know the truth. I wasn't supposed to leave. Then, last winter, I got a letter, no return address. Inside was a single photograph. It was the silo, wide open, and beside it, a figure, barefoot, head tilted, staring up at the camera. It was Eli. He hadn't aged a day. There was a note scrawled on the back. It's open again. I didn't decide to return. It was already decided. By the time I got back, the town was barely holding on. The grocery store was shuttered, gas station gone, and Ms. DeWitt's house, burnt out and overgrown. But the silo looked new. Same rust, same concrete walls, but something about it buzzed, like it had been waiting to breathe again. I stayed the night at my uncle's place. It hadn't changed, still smelled like dust and regret. I dreamed of water, not waves, not rain, just the idea of water, dripping in slow, impossibly steady rhythm. Like it was counting something down. At dawn, I walked to the field. There were no birds, no insects, just stillness. I circled the silo 3 times before I found it. A new hatch, round, black, covered in symbols. I touched it, and everything stopped. Not just sound, everything, my heart, my breath, like the world had paused. Then it opened. Not outward, not inward, just gone. Inside was not what I remembered. There were no stairs, just a tunnel, smoothly curved, like it had been carved by something not human. I went in. Of course I did. The deeper I walked, the quieter it got. Not just the absence of sound, but the pressure of silence, like it was pushing against my skull. I passed markings, symbols etched into the walls, same ones from the photo, same ones I'd seen in my dreams. Then I heard it, not a voice, not exactly. It was me, my own voice, saying things I had never said. We were never meant to speak. Sound is how it finds us. Silence is the only barrier. But you broke it. I reached a chamber, not the same one. This one was larger, breathing. Its walls pulsed with memories. And there, standing in the center, was Eli. Still barefoot, still unblinking. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Then I saw something was inside him, using him like a suit with seams made of silence. It turned to me, and I heard every silence I had ever known. The quiet after my parents' funeral, the stillness of empty rooms, the hush before the scream. Then I understood. It had never been about sound or voices. It was about vacancy, the empty spaces inside us. And the silo, it was a mouth, not one that chewed, one that devoured the unsaid. It fed on silence, it lived in it. Eli stepped forward, and I stepped back, but there was nowhere left to go. So I did the only thing I could. I spoke. Not words, not screams, just sound. I began humming. The same tune my mother used to sing, back when I was little, soft, tuneless, steady. And the chamber shook. Eli fell to his knees. The thing inside him screeched, not with noise, but with loss. It couldn't feed if I filled the space. I sang louder, louder than fear, louder than grief. And the chamber cracked. I don't remember leaving, only waking, outside the silo, dirt on my hands, voice hoarse, but the hatch was gone. Sealed again. Maybe forever. I left the farm for good, moved far away. No forwarding address, but sometimes. When I forget to leave the TV on, when the fridge hums too long, when the world goes too still, I hum. And wait, just in case it's still listening. Because I know now, it always was. Not all sounds should be heard, and not all silences are empty. If you ever hear something calling from beneath a sealed silo, don't listen, or do, but you won't be the same when you come back.